These photographs uncover the darkest corners of history, places few are familiar with, and most have never even heard of. History may not be rewritten, but these images reveal the parts that were never told. What really happened to that young girl whose head was separated from her body? How did an illness that began with an epilepsy diagnosis drive Annalisa Michel into paranoia, and perhaps into the hands of a demon? And the object that appeared in the skies over Berlin 110 years ago, rumoured to be alien, what did it leave behind? For this and more, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel to explore the history. Frank Lentini was born in 1889 in the town of Rossolini, Sicily, and he came into the world with a third leg attached to his body. This extra limb was the result of a parasitic twin that had failed to fully develop in the womb. Lentini's unique condition included 3 legs, 4 feet, and a total of 16 toes. Medical examinations also confirmed that he had a duplicated genital system. After immigrating to the United States, he joined major circuses such as Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey. When Lentini passed away in 1966 at the age of 77, he left behind 4 children and a stage career that had spanned nearly 40 years. Although his real name was never officially recorded, this man was known as Mr. Stoneface during his time performing in a traveling circus across the southern United States between 1952 and 1958. The severe deformities in his facial structure were caused by an advanced case of acromegaly, a hormonal disorder resulting from a tumor in the pituitary gland, which triggers excessive growth hormone production. Classic symptoms of the condition include a pronounced bulging of the forehead bone, an enlarged jawline, and thickening of the cartilage at the tip of the nose. At the time, individuals with such conditions were often displayed in traveling shows, commonly referred to as sideshows. Off-stage, he reportedly lived in near isolation, rarely interacting with fellow performers. Some circus staff even refused to share a trailer with him, according to accounts from that era. Captured off the coast of Newfoundland in 1873, this giant squid is one of the first specimens ever documented by science. Measuring nearly 10 meters in total length, the creature was displayed with its head hooked for public viewing. Remarkably, it was not until 2004 that this species was filmed alive underwater for the very first time. This photograph, therefore, stands as the earliest physical evidence confirming the existence of the species. This photograph was taken in the early 1900s in a small town in the American Midwest. The masks they're wearing weren't store-bought. They were handmade at home, often sewn from old sacks or scraps of fabric. At the time, there were no commercial costumes available, so children were sometimes dressed in the clothing of deceased relatives, with cloth masks placed over their faces. In some regions, this ritual was known as a death guise, meant to honor and send greetings to the spirits of family members who had passed. According to the family, the jacket worn by the small child in the photo had once belonged to his older brother, who died in a fire 2 years earlier. A torn piece of rosary found in the jacket's inner pocket may have been a remnant of the funeral items placed inside his brother's coffin. This photograph from 1869 was taken at the West Riding Lunatic Asylum in Wakefield, England. The man in the image is strapped into what was known as a restraint chair, commonly used at the time to calm psychiatric patients. The bindings around the head, neck, wrists, and torso were designed to prevent even the slightest movement. The medallion on his clothing is a copper tag bearing the patient's Schuktam's identification, used for systematic monitoring. This image stands as a stark reminder of the oppressive methods once employed to treat mental illness before the advent of modern psychiatry. Taken in 1941 in Japan, this photograph shows a group of elementary school students participating in a chemical attack drill. At the time, it was mandatory for all public school children in Tokyo to carry gas masks, and those without one were not allowed to attend school. The masks worn by the girls in the photo are a special model called Type 95, designed specifically to fit a child's face. These masks were tested weekly in classrooms, and any that showed leakage were confiscated by the school. During drills, students were also trained to take cover, close their eyes, and hold their breath in addition to putting on their masks, practicing full-body reflexes in preparation for an attack. Taken in January 1946 in Macon, Georgia, this photograph captures the initiation ceremony of a young child joining the Ku Klux Klan, KKK. At the time, the Klan aimed to instill its ideology of purity not only in adults, but also in children from a very young age. These children were often referred to as junior Klansmen and were inducted through special rituals. By the mid-1940s, the KKK had amassed hundreds of thousands of active members across the US, particularly in the southern states, or even influencing school curricula in some towns. This image starkly illustrates how hatred can be passed down, embedding a toxic ideology from one generation to the next. In 1932, the United States introduced electrically heated vests to help traffic police operate in harsh winter conditions. The officer seen in this photograph is showcasing this groundbreaking invention. Heating strips were embedded inside the vest, designed to reduce the risk of frostbite for officers who spent long hours standing in the cold. At the time, the innovation drew widespread attention, especially since electric heating wasn't yet common even in homes. The vest's power source came from battery packs carried on the belt, making this an early and progressive step in wearable technology for law enforcement. This image is one of the most controversial photographs said to depict Anneliese Michel. Born in 1952 in Germany, Anneliese was diagnosed with epilepsy at the age of 16, but the true turning point came in 1973 when she began claiming she was experiencing hallucinations. Raised in a devout Catholic household, Anneliese later insisted that 6 different demons were possessing her body: Cain, Hitler, Nero, Judas, Lucifer, and an unnamed monk. While psychiatrists diagnosed her with paranoid schizophrenia and religious delusions, her family and 2 priests believed otherwise. They subjected her to 67 exorcism sessions over several years. During that time, she lost over 30 kilograms, refused to eat, clawed at walls, and began drinking her own urine. By the time she died in 1976, her body weighed less than 30 kilograms. In this photograph taken in February 1968, during the Battle of Hugh in Vietnam, a US Marine is seen taking cover in the doorway of a bullet-riddled building. His face reflects the exhaustion of relentless urban combat, fighting that rage day and night through narrow streets and shattered homes. The Battle of Hugh became infamous for its brutal house-to-house warfare. This soldier may have been in that same spot for hours, motionless, waiting for a sniper's shot to echo from around the corner. Hugh was one of the bloodiest fronts of the Tet Offensive, and US forces were caught off guard by the North Vietnamese Army's guerrilla tactics, which made extensive use of civilian buildings and city infrastructure. Founded in the 1950s in Kansas City, the Dettes was an all-female hot rod club, a rarity for its time. The woman in this photo is seen working beneath a car engine, a powerful image of defiance in an era when auto repair was considered strictly a man's domain. These women modified their own cars, learned the mechanics inside and out, and carved out a space for themselves in the male-dominated car culture. The Dettes weren't just known as women who raced. They were respected as sharp-minded individuals with grease on their hands and purpose in their hearts. In this snapshot from the summer of 1920, 2 cousins from New Jersey, Emily and Ruth, posed playfully during a family picnic. Emily, known among her friends as the drama girl, had a deep love for theatre. Ruth, on the other hand, was shy but mischievous. This moment was captured just after they hid under the table, trying to scare their mother by shouting, "Look!" I lost my head! More than just a glimpse into the past, this photo captures a timeless stage of childhood imagination, one that transcends generations. In 1934, at Figure Hill Temple in China's Sichuan province, a unique tradition awaited new initiates. Before being accepted into the monastery, they had to cross this 70-meter-long chain bridge entirely on their own, without any assistance. The young man in this photo is a 19-year-old novice named Liang, who had left his family behind in pursuit of a monastic life. This image captures the moment he faced his very first test. In this 1934 photograph, two guardians from different eras stand side by side at the Tower of London. One a modern-day police officer, the other a traditional yeoman warder, also known as a beefeater. But this isn't just a routine moment captured on film. That day, the two had joined forces to search for a missing miniature crown, an ornamental piece tied to the history of the monarchy. According to legend, such mixed patrols were only assembled when one of the royal symbols of the throne had gone missing. A summer evening in 1915, the massive airship gliding over the skies of Berlin isn't a civilian passenger vessel. It's a military Zeppelin of the LZ-90 class, the pride of the German Empire. Primarily used for nighttime bombing raids over England, this giant aircraft is seen here soaring above Berlin. But why was it there? Before heading into combat, Zeppelins were routinely flown on test missions. Passing over major cities like Berlin served a dual purpose, boosting public morale and acting as a powerful tool of wartime propaganda. It was likely late afternoon, the sun beginning to set, and remarkably, the very Zeppelin captured in this image would soon take part in a bombing raid over London just weeks later. This photo, taken in 1972, features a Southwest Airlines flight attendant, but she wasn't just part of the crew. At the time, these women were essentially walking billboards for the airline's bold marketing strategy to boost ticket sales. Mini shorts, leather boots, and skin-tight outfits weren't a fashion choice. They were the official uniform. The company's unapologetic slogan, "Love is our way of flying." It wasn't aviation they were selling, it was fantasy. Southwest openly hired only young, attractive women with strict height and weight requirements written into the job criteria. And flight safety, that came second to the image they wanted to project. The man being detained in this photo, dressed in a skeleton costume, became an unforgettable figure of Halloween night in 1950s America. To some, he looked terrifying, to others, absurdly funny. But the real issue wasn't just the costume, it was the fact that during an era when public drunkenness was taken very seriously, this man was seen stumbling through the streets like a walking pile of bones. When police took him into custody, the costume's eerie effect was so intense that, at first, they thought it was some kind of prank. This image captures more than just a Halloween mishap. It reflects how even routine nights in 1950s America could turn into scenes straight out of a movie. This strange-looking machine is the ancestor of the drones we see in the sky today. The photo was taken on April 16th, 1941, in Pennsylvania. The man standing with a primitive controller in hand is operating a remote-controlled model helicopter. Though the scene looks almost like something out of science fiction, it marked a groundbreaking moment in military reconnaissance and technological innovation. Even under the looming shadow of war, people were already exploring ways to conquer the skies. This image stands as a rare glimpse into how small, experimental steps in technology eventually sparked a revolution. A rural mail carrier in Sweden, photographed in the year 1900. The uniform he's wearing was made from reindeer hide, a special government-issued outfit designed for extreme winter conditions. With average temperatures dropping below +20 degrees, these men often walked over 30 kilometers on foot to complete their routes. His mailbag wasn't ordinary either. It was lined with metal to help retain warmth and prevent the letters from freezing and cracking during the journey. This photograph was taken during a time when shutter speeds had only just begun capturing fractions of a second rather than full seconds. Back then, people always posed in the most serious, motionless way, because any movement meant a blurred image. But this shot broke that mold. Just as a woman was about to sneeze, the photographer clicked the shutter, resulting in one of history's first truly natural portraits. It was both a technical breakthrough and unintentionally hilarious. In this 1916 photograph taken off the coast of British Columbia, the crew of the fishing vessel New England battles to survive inside a frozen hell. The ship's deck, ropes, masts, nearly every surface is encased in a thick layer of ice. This kind of freeze wasn't just cold, it was deadly, heavy enough to sink the vessel under its own weight. And yet, here they are, staring into the camera because they didn't give up. This photograph dates back to 1875. Dressed in black, holding brooms and dried herbs, they appear less like members of a witch coven and more like a silent rebellion against the superstitions of their time. These women were likely part of a community devoted to revived pagan traditions, not sorcery, but to the eyes of society, there was only one label for them: witch. And in that era, being called a witch was one of the most dangerous things that could happen to a woman. In 1905, anyone who saw a woman dressed like this walking through the streets of Paris couldn't help but look twice, because this wasn't just clothing, it was a statement. The woman in this image was a pioneer, boldly challenging the patriarchal norms of her time. At a point in history when even women wearing trousers sparked controversy, she stepped out in a full motorcycle outfit, complete with masculine-style goggles, shattering expectations. Back then, women were expected to dress like a lady, but she chose to dress like herself. This photograph captures street life in Dublin exactly 100 years ago. Women laced tightly into corsets, embodied elegance, while gentlemen strolled with a dignified air, topped with fedoras and carrying walking canes. In an era before electric lights became widespread, gas lamps still lit the city streets. Horse-drawn carriages were slowly giving way to bicycles. It was a time when everything moved slower, more deliberately, and people truly looked at one another. While the war raged on the front lines, its quietest heroes were often hidden in letters. This photograph captures the moment love tries to fit between the lines. The young woman is writing a letter to her sailor sweetheart, a scene that reflects the shared fate of millions of couples during World War II. These letters weren't just a means of communication, they were lifelines of hope, sources of strength, and reasons to keep going. In a time when men fought with weapons, women fought with words, sending courage to the front line, one letter at a time.